Evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order and note all members present, council, staff, gallery. We'll start off with land acknowledgements. We'll begin this meeting to acknowledge that we are gathered on the land that has been inhabited by the Indigenous people since memorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Especially, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mississauga First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contribution of the Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community of the province of Ontario. Can I get approval of the agenda? Councilor Happy. We have a couple delegations, presentations. We'll start out with Mr. Harvey West, presentation of gates on locks at the Municipal Marina. You want to go ahead, Harvey?
Thanks for providing the opportunity. Actually, very close to tonight. Barry did a lot of the groundwork. I think before you have a copy of a petition signed by many of the voters at the marina. As well, I think it's a copy of a proposed picture of the gates. The majority of the people that Barry spoke with agreed that he thought the gates would be beneficial for a number of reasons, as stated in a letter. I think you have Barry in front of you as well. The main one being would be the protection of the property of the people at the marina, which is quite significant, very difficult to lock or seal or secure to the boat. Second is safety of government boats that are kept there. And the third is safety of people that shouldn't be on those docks. If a child or an adult that can't swim falls off one of those docks, it's very difficult to climb back up. They would have to swim out the finger into shore, because it's very difficult to pull yourself up onto the dock. So for those reasons, we think that would be a good idea to have the gates. Some people suggest that they would not prevent theft. It's for sure they wouldn't stop all theft. Anyone has a mind to steal will find a way. It's more our intent to stop spur of the moment theft than of the night. Another argument given as not to have gates is that in many communities, marinas don't have gates. However, many of those same communities provide security during the day and the evening, whereas we have no such security. So, in conclusion, we think that gates would be beneficial to the community, to the marina, and to the safety of the people on the docks and also. It is our intention to try and secure funding privately to have them installed on the docks. We did get quotes last 5 or 6 months ago, but that was the height of the pandemic. Costs were high, metals were high, and labor was high. So we're hoping that when things cool off a little bit, we could go back to the market and see what kind of cost, if any, reduction. Do you have any questions?
Martin, what about you want gates on all the docks?
Sure.
What about when people come from uptown, like tourists?
Well, they would come into the dock, come through the dock. The gates are actually, once you're on a dock, it's easy to get out. We don't keep you there. We let you out. Each person that became a member of the dock would get, when they purchase their slip, a combination to a key bag. And when they go down, they're going to keep that. And we know that not everybody will secretly keep their key bag. It goes to family members, it goes to people that are coming down to visit. But those aren't the people that would be doing damage like that. That's just people using them. Quite often, the law enforcement would have it, municipality members that are working down there, marina members, there, we all have to be, just each season you wish what you could. When you had a transient voter come, you would give them a slip and permission to.
They do it on the weekend when nobody's available to give them that.
I use a stick. When I go through, I put a stick in, hold the gate open. I got locked out 3 times with that bait. They haven't given me the key. There's always there to do that.
I'm not opposed to that, to having gates. But I look forward to our staff giving us a report on costs for maintenance, staff costs down the road, and public access. Things like that, I look forward to hearing from the staff what they report.
So you have more public access. Regular public should have access to the docks.
No. Like, the public, I mean, the voters. How the access is going to work for them. And there's a lot to work out before you just decide to put up gates.
For sure. But my experience has been, it's quite a smooth process. It's not absolutely foolproof by any means. You can give out the code. The real thought is to stop the midnight raider. Spur of the moment thief. We all know that theft is on our rise. My store was broken last night at 2 o'clock in the morning through the glass. And we was quite surprised at the thief. People were in there and they chased him back out. But people are becoming more and more bold as we go forward. To think that it won't happen here would be maybe killing ourselves.
As as someone who, in her, as a young person, spent her days on the docks in the municipality, I can assure you that, young children don't have any place on the dock. And I thank you for certainly recognizing that, and, so I do recognize the value in it. I also appreciate that, private owners would be interested in donating their valuable assets to the municipality for the public to use.
Good evening, Harry. It's been a long time. But the question I have for you is that there's an old saying out there, a locked door keeps the honest thief away. So no matter what locked doors you're wanting to get in, they're gonna get in. But I like the fact that you're trying to protect what you have. That I enjoy. Protect what you have and keep the keeps away from that place. Experience them. So I'm gonna support this wholeheartedly. But I'm not a fisherman myself, but I look at those gates and there's no way I'm going around those gates because I can't swim, so. Thank you, Harold.
More questions? First of all, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity that the county is gonna have supporting this project. At this point, though, I'd like to refer to staff to give them the opportunity to do a report on it and give their recommendation. And then after that, we'll bring it back to council and we'll bring it forward. Any questions on that, Alex? No?
Was there anything specific that you'd like in the report that Councilor Cannon hasn't?
I just want you to have an opportunity, not have the council for you respect your job and your position in the community and, get a chance to give your feedback. That's the main thing. Okay, thank you. Wes? Okay, move on to, another delegation or a presentation, Mr. Andy Stevens, Continental Community Center, bar sales information. Presentation. Go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff, and all the guests. Thank you for this opportunity to provide some information on the memorandum that came up at the last council meeting regarding the bar donation. This is a long history, but I'm going to give you a little feedback from what we know and maybe carry it through to what's progressed from that time and through what's happening today. So as you know, thanks for introducing me. I'm Andy Stevens, and I'm representing the men's curling. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight will also be similar to what's going to be happening with the other curling clubs in particular, because we do work together for fees in that organization that have such things as for bronze fields. So what I want to do is since we haven't tracked down the original agreement, we were able to find something that came out of 2013. People I've talked to said there was some agreement that was made with the time that the wholly owned curling rink was then switched over to be owned by the municipality. And there were certain benefits for the municipality when this process took place. And for those benefits, there was an agreement. In our understanding, none of us have been able to find the language back to somewhere in the late 1980s. So as I said, what I want to do is just start off from where we were at that meeting and just maybe at one point, discuss the source spot is every year and since we've been curling in my memory, we've got a bar donation. So I would think it's only fair that since we're starting this study now, memorandum and discussion, that the fees from last year should be paid. There was no discussion, and that would seem to be fair that would follow through from last year. And I just want to point out that the curling club is done by volunteers. We put our time in to try and do what's best for our curlers and community as well. If you look at the bond spills we put on, there are 2 to 3 day event. A lot of organization, timing, and finances go into those things. And we look at that as being a great benefit to the curling club, but as well, it's a big benefit for tourism in the community. Most people like to come a bit early, they have a good time, they have a hotel room, and it's a big social. Traditionally, we've been the wind up curling for men's curling in the area. So ours is the final one. And from this, as I said, it's good for businesses, and they've been very generous. So it's a two-way street. We put on Bonspiels, and we go to our sponsors, and they've been most generous to help us out. Our curling registration, just to give you a little feedback on how we work curling. So our annual curling registration fees, they're based on how many rinks we have, how many games we're going to play, and that's how we determine. We're looking to break even, we're for profit, but there's some other things I'll discuss further that we do in finances. So a few years back, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago, the curling rate increased by 20%. So they went from $50 a sheet to $60 a sheet, which is slightly over 20% increase in the package. During the COVID period, we've struggled to keep curling going. And following COVID, we tried to bring curling back. In ladies league, they've been very fortunate, but in the men's league, we struggled with 5 teams. Normally, at minimum, we had 8. And a team from Hawk, the non-curlers, came to our rescue and made us a 6-team team curling league. So some of the things we're looking at: how do we get curling back? How do we struggle to keep costs down? And how do we get youth into the program? So if I look at in particular the bar donations, that would increase. Sorry, for 8 teams in the men's. The Bonspiel, that represents pretty well $1,000. Or if you figure out the math, that's about $30 per player. So each player, we would have to recoup $30 somewhere in the process to break even if we don't have the bar. So that's the kind of change we would see. So you can see how this builds up. And the third thing that's happened more recently, and I'm not sure what's happening this year, our curling season traditionally has been in the men's league from November to sometime in April. And the final, as I mentioned, the final curling ball spill is the men's, which is sometime in early April, depending on when Easter is. And that then determines how long the regular season is as well. Last year, because of different things, we did close the season off at the end of March. And so our season is down to maybe 15 or 16 games. Looking at this year, 2023, we're down to about 17 games, including playoffs. That's when we shortened up to end of March. So it's quite dramatic with the changes. And some of the curlers are missing it too. So if you look at how the season is, it's about a 5-month season. And then as well, there's a couple things that do occur. So a couple years ago, I'm not sure of, but club went and we bought a boot cleaner, which is fairly expensive, but over the period of time, we recognized that the cost to the community are important. We do keep a bit of money ahead, and we were able to help the community by doing that. Some of the other programs we have done in the past and are now looking again is a youth program. We've had some inquiries again this year, and we're looking to see if we can work with the schools. One of the things we're doing for all of the curlers, since we have some new curlers, and in particular, we're looking to see if we can bring up students into the curling program, is we've been talking to Sioux curlers and trying to see if they can bring up an instructor. So we were prepared to pay for instructors to come to go through and do the adult curling and also see how we can work with the student curling and bring the program together. So through the school program, we've had it from one school. We've asked the principals of all 3 schools to get back and try and see how they can make curling work for themselves and then see how we can do it. And then from the curling club, we're looking to see if we can get volunteers to do some one-on-one with the curlers and help them as they progress from this period on. Some of the other things, just to give you a little bit of feedback, is curling is a changing sport. You may not believe that, but it's changed a lot from our traditional, where we have 4-person teams. Now you're seeing on TV the double mixed, and we've had a little tournament, went over fantastic. It's a quick moving game. You got to do a lot of working around, but it's a one-day event and it went very well. Another thing that we're looking at is 3-person curling. This came, some of the new leagues are doing that. If you look at COVID, basically, that's what we played. We couldn't have 2 sweepers, so we did that. So we're looking to see if that's an activity that maybe we can bring some more curlers out, have a fun weekend and a game. We found that we can do something from, say, on a Saturday or just a quick one from curling on Friday and a big Saturday. Not everybody wants to spend the whole week on the curling rink, but that's one of the things we're trying to do, to make it more interesting for the community. One of the things, just to wind up, is you can see there's been lots of changes, and curling changing again. That's one of the things when you look at, when I mentioned the 2-person curling or the 3-person or the doubles mixed and the 3-person curling, is the way the rates work now. So if I look at each game, I figure that's going to be $10 per sheet. $60 I did players, so roughly $9 or $10. If I'm paying the same $60 rather, if I only got 4 players, then we have to see how we progress through that, because that would then double my cost. So these are some of the things we have to look at. Where are we going forward with the rates, how long we're going to curl, and what other things are changing in the curling that we can work with. I want to thank Alex for the time he put in. I mentioned to him that he's in a hard spot. He's trying to keep tourism going, and obviously I mentioned some of the things that we do for tourism. At the same time, he's trying to keep costs down and keep things in line at the community center, because if you don't, obviously then that's going to feed back to the taxpayers. So I just want to wind this up with, I think that's important that we go forward with Alex and the other people on his team and the curlers and have direct communications. If you look at it, we talk first, and some of this maybe we can hash out a bit and see if that, from doing a joint group with all the curlers through Alex or his representative, then bring that to council rather than having pushback, so that we're here trying to explain to you what we're doing. So I believe communication is important. All being said and done, the men's curling is prepared to accept the recommendation by Alex. So it's going to be difficult for us to change in how we do stuff and make sure that registration is fair and it doesn't impact drastically our members. We understand the position the community is in, and I'm not speaking for the other groups, but men's curling, are prepared to accept the recommendation by the community center. The other groups we're gonna have to decide. We talked to them all, just so you know, we passed this letter on, all the communication has gone to all of them. And I'm representing the men's curling, and hopefully I'm speaking somewhat on behalf of the other curling groups. Questions? I can hear you.
Andy, I could speak a little bit on behalf of ladies curling. I was the president for a while. The monies from the bar do mean a lot. We buy in town, we spend in town, and that's something I really would like everybody to think about. I enjoyed your presentation, and I really like it when you say you're going to accept whatever we do.
No, I
But,
didn't say that. Just recommendation.
just your recommendation. But I do think all of us will think long and hard about it. On that.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, I also thank you very much for your presentation. So I wanted to make a few comments. Obviously curling, you know that curling is near and dear to my heart. One of the reasons why I accepted the recommendation at the last meeting was because many of the programs, as you're aware, I'm sure Alex has made you aware, the community center is highly subsidized by the municipality. And so any donation that the municipality makes is under much scrutiny as population increases and expenses only rise. So that was certainly something that I took into consideration.
I don't look at the subsidizing. I'm not saying we work hard to raise that money on behalf of the curling and also the community, because we get a small portion. The rest of the profit goes to staff, which is wages, which is important to employ people. And any profit that comes after all that, then that's what the municipality. So if you look back and somebody said, well, we don't have any, you or Kent, nobody's got a copy of the original documentation. Is there something? I'm sure. But I asked them, if you lose your marriage license, that means you're not married anymore. Just because we haven't found the record in a long-standing practice doesn't mean it's not still valid. I think what curling was saying is we understand it. We're prepared to discuss it further with the understanding is that it's a difficult decision. As I said, we first have to represent our curves. But I think it's important that we all recognize that if the community center is viable for all of us, and we're prepared to see if we can help by doing that.
I think another one of the points I think that was made was we really wanted to equalize the way that the donations were made to various parties. And that was something that was attempted to be done, where this was a practice that was only done with.
I look at it as a contract. So say this particularly to the curling, for what reason the township decided to extend it to other groups. That was between them and the municipality. But my understanding, talking to people that are in the know about the original agreement, it was more or less a business agreement, because to get the community center, the financing was assisted by the development of putting the curling in with the arena. So it was something that benefited both parties, and that's what we're looking for, is to make sure that everybody's happy with it. So if you look back, so I think we're saying that we understand that what happened in the past is correct, that that was the agreement that was done, it's still valid. At least the men's curling, we said, it's still valid, but by the same token, we're prepared to do our bit to help the community.
I agree that last year's donation before the meeting, any commitments that the municipality made prior to the date of the letter that was sent should be honored. Absolutely.
as council, do you feel that we need more discussion on this?
Yeah.
So can we, table, what was that? 1.1? Yeah, meeting 1.1.
Yes, just the motion to adopt the agenda, will just remove that item.
And what, I think council would like is, maybe, I'm gonna speak on behalf of the council. You got any, as I say, go the street, to go back and then to the house. And then talk to them, and just collaborate between the groups. And then get a more of a consensus and I don't know where to go, but have the conversation. And we'll bring it back to council. Go ahead.
What I would like to add, the agreement we have, if that could be found, I don't think you can just destroy an agreement. Because I would really hope we can find that.
Yeah, I don't know. If Mr. Stevens said that there's ever handed. So.
I talked to Linda, and Linda seemed to think that there was a policy made when Lori came to town, that she was involved in doing some kind of a policy made that brought this agreement forward. So that's, and the only thing I like to say is, when you guys, I hate the word donation, it's not a donation, it's an agreement with a made between the town and the building fund.
You're not mentioning the council, we don't know that. This is, from our perspective, it looks like a donation, so that's what we're trying to figure out here. So I will just leave it at that. We'll go ahead, Councilor.
And I was the chairman of the bowling committee. Once, youth council facilities. And we were told that we do 20% on the dollar. And we accepted it. The following year, we went back to Howell and Union Howell. That was the country. And I thought it was an agreement back then, but I could be wrong. So I know you're working hard at it. to solve this.
And I think, we'll leave this in, Alex's hands, and, I don't think we'll put any date to it. We need time to go way through it and have ample time to find the facts and discuss with the groups. And I think when it's that time, come back to Lori and then Kathy, and we'll get it back on the agenda. Does that sound fair?
More perspective. Just having trouble hearing because of the. But yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, collaborate with the different groups, yes. Okay, thank you, Ms. Stevens. Okay, no more questions? We move on to document minutes. Can I give a mover? Councilor Cannon? Okay, business, no business arising previous meeting. We'll move on to number 7, new business. CEO, Economic Development Quarterly Activity Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Is my volume okay? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to provide council with an update on economic development and tourism activity in a quarterly report. So I submitted to council a summary of the activity that's taken place over the last 3 months. It's a brief overview of what activity has been going on over the period June to August. I think most importantly was the activation of the Municipal Economic Development and Tourism Committee meetings. The meetings were held in the summer on 2 occasions. And the committee has met and has received an overview of the Wawa Tourism Plan and is starting to get together to plan its recommended actions for council's consideration for 2023 over its next few meetings. Its next meeting is next week. And as council set out in the terms of reference for the committee, the role of this committee is to give council recommendations on policies, procedures, and strategies that it believes the municipality should undertake. So we look forward for future updates from the committee to council as the next few months go by. Most activity over the last 3 months were spent on the Wawa 5-year tourism plan. As council is aware, we received funding from FedNor to complete a 5-year tourism plan, which began in June 2022 when council appointed Bannekin Consulting as the successful bidder on this project. Over the summer, a lot of activity has taken place. A tourism survey is underway at the Tourism Information Center. It'll run till the end of September, and as of last week, we had about 50 surveys responded to. A list of key informants and stakeholders have been put together for the consultants, and there'll be outreach to 20 stakeholders in the community by the consultants over the next month. With that comes planning for 2 public information sessions for anyone in the public and community interested in learning about this study more or contributing to its outcomes. Those public meeting dates have not been set, but we anticipate they will be held in November and possibly December. A lot of activity and research is being taken place behind the scenes, and the study topic itself was accepted by the Tourism Northern Ontario conference to be held in November as a topic to be shared with an audience on the approach we're taking. As we continue the study, it's anticipated that a report to council will be made in January 2023 with the final report done in 2023 in March. Under labor attraction and retention heading, much activity was completed over the last 3 months. First of all, there's the CTV Northern Works media campaign that the Superior East region was successful in accessing funding for. We're working with our partners from Dubreuilville, White River, Chapleau, Manitouwadge to work with CTV on 2 campaigns, one that will be released this fall as early as October 16th and another in the spring. Essentially, the program is a 2-flight campaign that cost around $70,000, but through Superior East Community Futures, a grant was received to cover the majority of costs, and Wawa's share would be $3,500 towards this marketing campaign. The campaign is going to focus on the available job opportunities in the area. With all communities participating, there'll be special focus, of course, on our gold mine industries and partners that have available jobs. And Wawa will focus some of its advertising on the upcoming need of the Wawa OSB mill for a labor force. So everyone is working together in the region to support this marketing campaign to attract a labor force to our industry and to the available jobs posted on the Regional Employment Help Center website. We are working on that campaign that'll include CTV ads airing on TV, an interview, and a new website dedicated to CTV viewers who can link to our websites. So we're excited to give council an update on that project as we move forward over the next couple of months. On top of that, we also assisted the region with the partners of Dubreuilville and White River to participate in the Access Connecting Canada program. We set up some online job interviews and job fairs with incoming immigrants in the month of June. We had the Wawa OSB mill agree to participate as well as Alamos. And so we did a matchmaking between incoming immigrants and employers. And that program was somewhat successful with 50 participants around the globe contacting Wawa directly to learn about potential job opportunities in the region, and Wawa OSB continuing to meet with potential candidates. There's also the Réseau du Nord Francophone Immigration Program that we're a partner on. And through the lead of Duberville, we've agreed to participate in the submission sent to the program for funding and support to attract Francophone immigrants to area employers in our communities. That submission was submitted on Friday. And we anticipate within the next month to hear how that program will roll out. At this time, there is no cost to municipality, and with Duberville leading, most staff time will come from that community. We also participate in the North Algoma Medical Recruitment and Retention Committee with Councillor Hatfield being council's representative. And council did commit to providing $23,000 annually over 2 years towards medical recruitment. So the municipality, through our council designate, continues to participate in those meetings in the hopes that it does support attracting medical professionals and physicians to the area. On the housing and land development side, as council is aware, it is the #1 priority for economic development, and it was set out as a key strategy in the Wawa strategic plan. Much time has been spent on trying to set up a strategy to increase the housing supply in the community. Many meetings were held with potential developers over the quarter, 10 consultations with developers, with 4 remaining currently active. Staff have inventoried available residential lots owned by the municipality, which includes the 80 unserviced lots in Churchill Phase 5 that would be available to respond to any local development inquiries. Staff are also supporting the owners of vacant land to sell or develop their lots for residential purposes. Several land development inquiries were responded to over the period, and we continue to engage with our industry partners who have indicated support of any ventures Wawa may engage in to increase the housing supply, including Alamos and the Wawa OSB mill, to develop possible solutions to the housing shortage issue. The responsibility to provide affordable, accessible, and adequate housing is the responsibility of all levels of government, but it's really important to note for council that we do provide almost $2 million annually to the Algoma District Services Board. And we send that money to support the development of affordable housing in the Algoma district, excluding Sault Ste. Marie. Wawa did receive approximately $3.5 million back when we built the 10 seniors housing units on Algoma Street. And Algoma Services Board indicates that it will not be looking to develop new accessible, affordable housing in Wawa under its mandate until it meets some housing commitments in other communities. So it will be a while till the Algoma District Services Board gets involved in building housing under its programs. Under land development, we were happy to report that 4 lots in the industrial park were sold over this quarter to local entrepreneurs. We have a new set of entrepreneurs that are moving forward with their business ideas, and council supported that by selling 4 industrial park lots. But that does leave only 1 industrial lot available that is serviced and ready for any other industrial development. So staff is looking at completing a market demand study and a study to investigate the best option for developing new industrial land in the community. And it will be part of any recommendations to the new and incoming council as part of the 2023 budget. In summary, as briefly as I can, certain activity was undertaken to work with our downtown business community, including the Wawa BIA over the quarter. The BIA is currently working with Alex to replace and purchase many of the banners along Broadway before the end of the year. We continue to host and monitor the BIA Eat, Shop, Live website. We applied under the Main Street funding program for funding support to hire a dedicated person to help with downtown development. Unfortunately, that application was not approved. Other activity over the quarter focused on supporting entrepreneurs with their business plans, directing them to possible funding programs, and helping our local industries with the support that they needed. For the next quarter, in brief, we will be focused on completing the tourism plan, the community survey, and the public information sessions. We'll complete the CTV fall marketing campaign. We'll work with the EDAC committee to develop a set of recommended actions for council. We'll onboard the new council in December 2022, and Alex and his team will have a report on the accommodation tax proposal to be completed by December. All the activities are meeting the goals and actions set out by council in the Wawa strategic plan under the key priorities of tourism and economic development. And it meets the vision and mission statements of the Wawa strategic planning council, which focused on meeting community needs with quality services that are financially viable. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting me provide you with the summary of the report of economic development activity over the quarter. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Any questions? Yeah, one thing I'd like to say is we are sticking to our strategic plan. We do have a roadmap for following it. So success of this community depends on following that strategic plan, and it's been laid out and it's very well done. So I just hope it continues in the future. Okay, we'll move on to 7.2. Mr. Dan Beach.
I'm happy to say. It's exciting past 2 months. We'll give you a quick overview of what we did through downtown. We redid the street lines from Broadway and Mission Road. We also painted parking spaces, including some accessible spaces on Main Street. That is a work in progress as we sort of battle with traffic and get signs in the right places, but we are moving forward with that. We began doing sidewalk repairs on Toronto. We had our street scan study report sort of come back and tell us that Toronto was the one with the worst sidewalks. So we decided let's target that one since it is a throughway that runs parallel with Broadway. We gravelled and calciumed our gravel roads and access to the dams. So that's a yearly thing that we do. Cemetery maintenance. We did tree trimming, grass cutting. We did some headstone leveling. We ordered lights to put on the posts. Those are somewhere overseas. They're coming. We are working on getting lettering and signage for the cemetery as well. We also assisted the Community Services and Tourism Department with removing the old sort of condemned dock at the marina. It looks much better now. We've got lots of compliments on that. For the Water Services Department, we rehabilitated 2 sanitary manholes that were failing, one on McKinley and another one, I believe, on 2nd Ave. We had our external audit by SAI Global. It went really, really well. We had 1 minor non-conformance, which we've now met the criteria for. So that is moving forward. We did some water service repairs and some other things like that on our distribution system. Our water rate study is underway. We've had a couple meetings with the economists, and we're working on developing a structure that we think will work best for the town. Not included in the letter, we did also initiate our master plan, looking at deficiencies in our distribution system and our plant, looking at what assets need to be upgraded, those types of things. So that initial report will be coming as well. We also hired an external company to help us with our search for a qualified operator, since we've exhausted a lot of our resources in the local area. Capital projects that are underway. School zone project. We replaced a failed sewer line. We paved. There's new sidewalks and curbs that are going in. And right now we are scheduled to do a deficiency walkthrough this week with the engineer and sort of point out sort of some last final touches that need to be done. Cemetery expansion, we are awaiting the final design, but we spoke with the engineer today and they've got a phased approach for the drawing that we showed you guys earlier this year. So we're looking forward to working with them on that. Landfill expansion, Provo was awarded the construction for the landfill expansion. We started removing trees. We've moved the site attendant shack, fencing got started today. I believe also is finished. And now we're looking at moving around our scrap steel pile, things like that, to open up that main area for waste receiving. Municipal garage, we rehabilitated our kitchen area. It looks absolutely beautiful now. It's bright. We've got new countertops. It's fabulous. So right now we're looking at a furnace replacement for the upcoming season. Financial plan and rate study. Like I mentioned before, we had a progress meeting. We're working on a structure that we think is going to work best for the municipality and for our different types of users throughout the community. And then again, our master plan. Aspernet and Associates was here. They came and they went through all of our infrastructure. They had a really wonderful time with our operators, going through everything in detail and finding what we needed. So looking forward to seeing what they come up with in terms of recommendations for moving forward. And then for September and October, we're going to finish up our sidewalks on Toronto. We need to haul winter sand and salt for the upcoming winter season. Doing our final graveling and sloping for the roads. We're working on our winter equipment, removing garbage cans and benches for the winter season. Final grass cutting and brushing, and exciting news, our new dump truck came in with the sanding equipment, so we're super stoked about that. So ending on a high note there, if anybody has any questions or comments, please let me know. Really, there's no, as in like the street lights around,
Streetlights,
or you need more street lights? Like,
there's none.
there's none.
We took them out 3 or 4 months ago. They haven't been
Yes,
back.
and those have to be replaced. Yep, those are on the docket to get.
And they'll be done before.
Hopefully, yes, we're working on getting those replaced.
I just have one question about, in front of the funeral home, where you have parking for along the street, then you have a bicycle lane, and then you have room to fit 2 vehicles going by all at the same time safely?
Yes, so those lanes are the standard OPSD sizing for 2 vehicle traffic, yeah.
I've gone and had to, the vehicle that I met on the corner, he had to move right over to the other side for 2 vehicles, 2 trucks to get by each other.
Okay. I can review, you can review the engineer, the actual distances. of
Because
our
then if you put a bike in there and a vehicle parked on the side, like that doesn't leave a lot of room, especially for the bicycle.
Yeah, so on that one side, there is a small buffer lane to help with that. I can review, we can bring that up in our deficiency walkthrough with the engineers and see if there's something that we can do about that, but my understanding is those lanes are the width of a residential street in a school zone. I mean, Wawa is very blessed with having incredibly wide streets. I think this painting of this lines is a very extreme difference than what we're used to. And so it will take some getting used to, but narrower road lanes do encourage slower traffic in a school zone area, which I would hope is important to everybody to get safe. But yeah, I will review with the engineer.
Yeah, it's just because the safety of the bicyclist, I'm worried about.
Okay.
Like having that much on that corner
Yeah.
just doesn't seem as safe as it might could be.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I'll review with the engineer and then we can refer back to them that if that's something you would like.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question about, the external company that we hired to search for qualified water operators. Do we at present time offer any incentives for anybody looking to relocate to Wawa for employment?
So I can speak on behalf of, so what happened with me when I moved up here was I did get a moving bonus and had some things paid for. The municipality did offer to pay for my rent for a couple months at a apartment that was available at the time. We do offer things like that to encourage people to come up. Unfortunately, it's just been, exhausting our talent pool, and we compete with water operators for the mines and different organizations like that. So we are trying to work with the headhunter to let them know that, yeah, those are things we're willing to offer. And hopefully that we can find someone that's willing to relocate since we appear to have exhausted our local resources, so. Yeah.
We can answer back of what we could do. Is there even like pros and ratings destroying our, most of our grounds?
Yeah, so in the past, from my understanding, we have sprayed for grubs and things like that in the past. I can't answer as to why that did not happen this year, so I do apologize. I am, learning this position as I go this year, season by season, but that is something I think we should look into and solving that issue for sure, because it does make a mess.
And that's the last year and year before. Really, that's really awesome. Thanks for that.
Thank you for that report. Also, you can thank your troops because the town does actually look pretty good in all the streets, rural zone, sidewalks coming together. So in your morning huddle or however you get together with your troops, thank you. Move on to 7.3. Patterson, reports to July.
July and August, really busy on the tourist front. I think the best example of that is the amount of garbage that we've taken away from the tourist information center every day. It was one over 50 load full every single day from that facility. Over the last couple of years, I haven't had people there on a regular basis taking user statistics, things like that. I've just had the garbage loads to kind of gauge how many people come in, as well as looking at license plates from various places. Included in this report, I now have some numbers for you folks about who stopping into the tick, where they're coming from. I want you to note that those numbers are people who actually physically fill out the survey. So there's a lot more people coming through the building than actually fill out the survey, but it gave us a really good sense of how the pandemic had shifted demographics, which is something that I had seen in the past couple of years just from being in the parks, but now having numbers to show that we are capturing some of that Southern Ontario market in the way that we haven't in the past has been really interesting. So TIC has been very busy, parks have been very busy. It was something that we really struggled with at the start of the summer because we were spinning up our summer students. We didn't have our usual load of college students starting earlier. So we felt like we were probably about 2 weeks behind from Canada Day to where we wanted to be. Everybody knowing their job, having it opened up the way that I wanted it to be. But we spun up after having this come in. They were really important for our staff capacity, and they really helped us for the rest of the summer. Keep things rolling in. What was probably one of the busiest I've experienced in terms of extra things that we do at the parks, and especially those tourist facing parks like the Tourist Information Center and City High Walls and places like that. So it kept us really busy for the whole summer, and we got a lot of good work out of this. Couple things on the capital front. At the community center, we've got 2 projects that are finished and 2 projects that are behind, but still will happen this year. So the 2 projects completed on budget are the 2 regional sound system. The 2 remaining projects, the flooring for the south hallway was supposed to happen before we spun the plants up. Unfortunately, that flooring was delayed from the Canadian States, and so now it is coming basically the 1st week of October. So we're working on how we schedule that and make that still happen, as well as the curling glycol bump. The exact same story with that. It is coming the 1st week of October. So that gets installed smoothly before the start of the grilling season. We should be good to go. If not, we may have to do it for the food season, in which case we'll those cards as they come. Other things going on, I've included reports from both the recreation coordinator as well as the tourism coordinator. On the recreation side, I'd like to note that Science North has been really excellent to us. We have 3 schedules this year from Science North. Typically, we get them once if we're lucky. So that's been really excellent to have at the community center, to have up at the business market. They're a really good opportunity. We don't necessarily have them to travel to Sudbury to experience some of that STEM programming. And so that's been really nice. We had collaborations with another organization called Can Mexicanas. They came up with summer camps, and so we hosted some of them at the community center. We used our recreation program, which is the summer experience program funded position, with their summer experience program funded position. essentially very low cost, no cost for the community, because we got some provincial funding for the students, and then that was really the major cost of it. We're doing the soccer program right now. This is the first year that we're trying that. Typically, we try that in the spring. We're trying it in the fall. I want to say we had 50 or 60 people sign up for that, so I'm pretty happy with those numbers. I think they could be maybe a little bit higher, but it's a new thing for us to try in the fall, and so far it seems to be working well, especially because in the spring, we noticed that towards like the actual summertime and after the long weekend, that program just takes close down. So that's been fun. We did the fall fair already. This report obviously was for the summer months, so we talked about planning the fall fair, but we did the fall fair. We did the curling rink this year, just because the rain forecasting, especially the rain forecasting for the tents on Broadway wasn't particularly favorable, and so that was well received, I think. I've got some stats here for you on our social media, as well as some statistics here, like I talked about earlier at the Tourist Information Center. I think the last thing I'll say, well, second last thing I'll say, one of our counselors asked me about the WSW Health and Safety Program. So it's in our department's report, just because I'm the co-chair of the Joint Health and Safety Committee. So that's a program that the whole management team and the Joint Health and Safety Committee is working on. It's basically a program where they pick 5 topics for you to work on, and you focus on those particular things in our organization. And if you meet their criteria, then you're eligible for WSW rebate. It actually doubled it this year, so it could be up to $14,000 that we get back off of our premiums for doing these topics. A lot of the stuff, really luckily for us, was stuff that we were already working on. So I think Kathy's talked about policies that we received from Payne that we're kind of updating and putting in our stuff. Well, 2 of the topics were about updating specific sections of policy. So all I had to do was write a standard for those topics, do some employee surveying, and then those topics were already being updated by Kathy and Sue, actually, and the Joint Health and Safety. So it's a nice way for us to reinforce the work that we're already doing on the health and safety front, while also being able to get some money back from our WSW premiums. And then the last thing I'll talk about is some of the funding that we applied for. So we've completed an application to the NOHFC, and we're working with them on essentially the final details for the HVAC at the community center, as well as a couple other pieces. We also completed a Trillium application. This is the 3rd time we've completed this application with Trillium. I was lucky this time I actually got to talk to somebody at Trillium. First time I've been able to talk to somebody. They were really helpful in terms of modifying our first and second applications to make it better. So I'm a lot more hopeful for that application, because typically a challenge is getting a hold of an actual funding officer there. So we were really lucky that our OHFC funding officer hooked me up with someone actually. So hopefully those 2 funding applications go well, and we get some money in the future for some of the pieces of infrastructure we're trying to.
So for the annual trustee application, may I assume that we're working on for the stuff?
Yeah, we've had some challenges aligning with their particular funding stream, and then we paused during the application by the election. So specifically, we were trying to get federal to do a joint application with and NOHFC, and I tried, we tried, Maureen and I tried together, we tried a couple of different people to talk to at FedNor, but their line the whole time was we were not funding programs. We called it different things, like community center and this and that, and they figured out pretty quickly it was the idea, and they didn't. So without that, we changed the application. Basically, just asking NOHFC and local for the funding, which they can appreciate as much as many other.
Well, you know, I mean, I can see what some look like now. Kick Center it was pretty busy this year. Knowing that the activities that they've gone to the link, staff there and all that, and kept all the programs running. Again, thank you, crews, for doing a good job. Appreciate that. Okay, move on to numbers of these items. Next meeting day will be Tuesday, October Can I get the move to this meeting? Councilor Pino? At 7:29. Okay, so tight there, folks, we'll go on to the next. Okay. Well, order the no members present. Staff and gallery. Would look for disclosure of community interest. Seeing none, we'll move on. Can I get approval of the agenda?
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 be approved as amended. The first item is to remove item 11.1, which is to accept staff recommendation AP memo, Mishpachut Memorial Community Center bar sales and donations resolution, and item number 13.6.
All in favor? Motion carried. Delegations and presentations, we'll go on to 5 announcements. There's a number of items there for your interest. Reading that on and please. Down to number 6, adoption of minutes.
Moved by Councillor Pilo, seconded by Councillor Chason. Resolved that the following minutes of a meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, as contained on pages 1 to 4, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Great. We'll move to the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the items listed under consent agenda, items numbers 8.2 and 8.3 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Motion carried. We will move on to staff reports. Receive staff reports.
Moved by Councillor Pilo, seconded by Councillor Chason. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following staff reports, a copy of which are attached here to ACAO 2022-06 Economic Development Update, BDB 2022-04 Report for the months of July and August 2022, CAP 2022-06 Report for the months of July and August 2022.
All in favor? Motion carried. We'll describe the previous meeting and move on to new business.
Moved by Councillor Pilo, seconded by Councillor Chason. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby accept the staff recommendation in AP memo mural for Broadway Avenue and permit the installation of a mural at no cost to the municipality on the municipal building located at 96 Broadway Avenue by Lopi Productions.
Okay. On to 15 bylaws.
Excellent.
11.3.
Yes, we did. I was just going to say that.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby accept staff report in AP memo Marina Playground and accept a donation of up to $25,000 for the purpose of installing a new playground at the Harry McCluskey Municipal Marina at a new location identified by the Director of Community Services and Tourism, and pursue an RFP process for the supply and installation of a playground at the marina to be completed in the spring of 2023.
All in favor? Motion carried. Move on to, bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Pilon, seconded by Councillor Chason. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time. And finally passing that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary, notwithstanding, bylaw number 3531-22 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 20th day of September 2022. Bylaw number 3532-22 to adopt municipality of Walla policy number MM010, waiver of municipal facility fees. Bylaw number 3533-22 to enter into a service agreement with the Hawk Junction Local Services Board for the collection and disposal of domestic garbage. Bylaw number 3534-22 to amend bylaw number 3246-19 and extend the municipal refuse collection agreement for the collection and disposal of domestic garbage with J. Provo Contracting Limited for a period of 2 years from 2022 to 2024.
All in favor? Motion carried. Next meeting will be Tuesday, October 4th.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the meeting close at 7:35 p.m.
All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much.